Today's video is about using nets to find surface area. It's my first video in a while, so I'm going to be a little bit rusty. So today, when you get done watching this video, you will be able to use a net to find surface area. So let's first talk about what nets are. A net is a way to basically flatten a three-dimensional figure and turn it into two-dimensional shapes so that we can look at each individual. So basically what I'm going to do is take a three-dimensional shape like this rectangular prism, and I'm going to flatten it out, and what I will end up having is what looks like this. So let's start out with a rectangular prism. In fact, let's start out with a cube. Let's pretend my drawing is perfect and it was a perfect cube. Now, if it was a perfect cube, that means that every single one of its edges are the exact same. So if we take that cube and we flatten it, what it's going to look like, let's start out with the base, and our base is going to be this right here, matching sides, and it's 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters. Then we can fold down the front and the back, which I'm going to color blue, and they are going to have the exact same. So these are also 4 centimeters. And then I'm going to do the top, which I'm going to do green right there. That would be here, and it has the exact same dimensions. And then I'm going to fold down the two sides, which are in yellow, this side, and then the back side over there. And those are also have the same dimensions because a cube has all the same edges. They're all the exact same. So what I have is a net that has 6 faces. So you can see here is yellow side and yellow side represented here and here. Here is blue side, front and back represented there. And then you have green for the top. And I just left the bottom black. And that's how they're represented on our net here. And notice all of my side lengths are going to be 4. This one's 4, this one's 4, this one's 4, this one's 4. Every single one of them is 4. So basically what I'm going to have is all these side lengths are 4. And so if I want to find the surface area of that net, I'm going to have to find all of the surfaces, the area of each surface, and I'm going to have to add them up to find the whole one. So let's start with the bottom one. Now this one is 4 by 4. This bottom one that I have colored black. So I would do 4 times 4, which of course is 16. And then I could do the blue one on the front. And that would be 4 times 4 is equal to 16. And then I could do the back, and it would be 4 times 4 equals 16. Are you hopefully picking up a pattern here? And then I would do the two yellow ones, which are both 4 by 4, so it's 16. Oh, and the other one 4 by 4, which is 16. And then let's see our two surfaces left. I have the, let's see, top, which is green, 4 by 4, which is 16. Oh, that's the last one. So I've done my two yellows, I've done my green, I've done my two blues, and I've done my black. That's all 6 surfaces. And so what I need to do at the end is then add them all together. So I do 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16. I do it 6 times. Or which repeated addition is just multiplication. And I would get 96 centimeters squared. Now, if you picked up on this and realized that I was just wasting time on that last part, what you could have figured out is that since there are 6 surfaces and they are all the exact same, then once I found this first one right here, I could have just taken 16 times 6 because all those 6 things are the exact same, and I would have got the same thing, and I would have got 96 centimeters square. That is a cube. Cubes are super easy in that way because all 6 sides are the same. We're going to do a little rectangular prism that's a little bit more difficult, but if you're smart and you use good math strategies, then you can make it a lot easier on yourself. And here we go. So let's take our new rectangular prism, and it has a height of 6, it has a width of 2, and its depth is 5. So what we are going to do is we're going to break this thing up, and we need to make sure that we are accurate when we break this thing up. So let's start out by looking at the base, and the base is a rectangle, you can see. And now let's make that one right here. That base, that blue base, is a rectangle. And now let's take a look. Now this width right there is 2, so we're going to have that is 2, and the side over here is 5, so that's going to translate to there. Now let's do the two sides. So I'm just going to color them red because it's easier for me to organize it like that. So that is going to be another rectangle. So I'm going to make a rectangle right here, and notice this corner it shares right there, and that's 5. So I already know that that's 5, which means this is also 5 over here. And so then I need to figure out what is the other side. What is this right there? And so let's take a look. This side means this side, and now since the height is 6, that means this is going to be 6. And guess what? Our other rectangle on the back side is going to be the exact same. It is also going to be 6, and then it also shares, and that's going to also be 5. Now let's take a look at our front face, and let's color that green. So it's going to be another one coming off the front and coming off the back, and you should be able to tell that it is going to still have the width of 2, and the height is going to be 6, because this line would be 6. Now look, this one right here is 6, and those two would match up. They'd fold together and create an edge, and so that one has to be 6 too. And if this one is 2, then this one has to be 2. And the same thing is true on this. Those two faces have to be exactly the same. So there we go. This one's going to be 2, this one's going to be 6. And now the only surface we have not done is the top. So we're going to put our top, let's put it over here, because it would join up, and then if we folded it over, it would fold over and connect those two. So if you look, we already have this side of it, which is 2, so that means that one is 2. And then the top is going to be 5, because the bottom there's 5, that's got to be 5. And if you looked, these two would fold onto each other, and these two would fold onto each other, so those two sides have to be equal because they form an edge together. So now we have created the net for this, and we have all of our rectangle sizes that we can figure out each area, and then we can add them together. Now, I want you to notice one thing. I colored the front and the back face green. Those are the exact same dimensions. I colored the two sides red. Those have the exact same dimensions. And what I should do, the top and the bottom have the exact same dimensions too. So I'm going to turn that one back orange, because they're the exact same. So now all I have to do is figure out what either the top or the bottom is, then what one of these two sides is, then what one of those two sides is, and we're going to take each of them times 2 because there are 2 of each. So let's start out with our top and our bottom. So our top and our bottom, we have 2 width and 5 length. So we're going to do 2 times 5, and that would be 10. Now we have 2 of them, right? So those both are going to be 10. So our bottom and our top together are going to be 20 centimeters squared. Now let's do our reds. So our reds are going to be 5 long and 6 high. So 5 times 6, each one of them is going to be 30. So if we add double that, it's going to be 60. And then take our front and our back face, and those are each 6 by 2. So it's going to be 12 for each, which is 24. So then all we're going to do is we're going to add all of them together, and that will give us our surface area. By the way, if you're doing this for homework, I expect that you will draw my beautiful drawing as best you can and write down the notes with me. Now turn to the person next to you. If there's not a person next to you, pretend there's a ghost next to you. Give him a high five. It's Casper the friendly ghost. It's not an evil ghost, so give it a high five. Tell a good job solving the problem. If someone across the room doesn't know that you're giving a fake ghost that I told you to give a high five, they'll probably think you're crazy, but chances are you probably are. And last, we are going to do a pyramid. Now we are going to do a square pyramid. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't know if it's going to show up on the video. It took me like 10 times to draw it, and it's still kind of ugly, but cut me some slack, alright? So the first thing we're going to do is make a net of this, and let's do the base first, which is a square. This is a square pyramid, and I'm going to give it some measurements. So this pyramid has a square base that is 4 centimeters on each side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my square base. Now each one of these sides are the same. This is for a square pyramid. So you are going to have 4 triangles, one from each side. Now let's label our sides. Each one of those sides on the base is 4. And if you noticed, I gave you a height on the triangle face that was 5. So what you have is one square, and of course that would be 4 times 4 is 16, and then we have 4 of these, and they are all the exact same. So really all we have to do is find one of them, and then we're going to rotate, or we're going to multiply it by 4. So if you take a look at our base right here, it's going to be the same as the width of the square, and so the height is going to be 5. So remember, triangles are 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to take this 4 and I'm going to take half of that. And we've talked about taking that shortcut. So I'm just going to do 1/2 of the base, which is 4, and I'm just going to make that into 2. And then I take it times the height, which is 5. And that means that triangle is 10 centimeters squared. And I said there are 4 of them. So all I have to do is multiply it by 4. So 10 times 4. Oop, that looks like a 16. 10 times 4 is 40 centimeters squared, and then I add it to my base, which is 16, and my final answer is 56 centimeters squared. So that is the basics on how you use a net to find surface area. Basically, you want to make sure that you figure out what each surface's measurements are, and make sure you find the area of each one of them, then add them all up at the end. So that's all I got. Now make sure that if you have not taken notes and you forgot, go back and take some notes. Otherwise, I will be screaming mad in the morning. Goodbye.